In the mystical land of Eternia, where magic and might intertwined, an unnatural darkness crept over the skies. The twin moons that once bathed the land in serene silver light now glowed crimson, casting eerie shadows across the plains. The whispers of an ancient terror swept through the air, unsettling even the bravest of warriors. Within Castle Grayskull, the sorceress stared into the mystical pool, her eyes wide with dread. "This is no ordinary disturbance," she murmured to Tila, her voice heavy with urgency. "Something has torn through the fabric of reality itself, and what has emerged threatens not just Eternia, but the very balance of existence." "Who or what could have done this?" Tila asked, gripping her staff tightly. The sorceress hesitated, then spoke with a trembling voice. "A cosmic force, Mangog. He is vengeance and wrath personified. Born from the hatred of 1,000,000,000 fallen beings, his rage knows no bounds, and his arrival here is a sign of great peril." Far from Grayskull, in the Whispering Woods, He-Man stood beside Battlecat, scanning. The horizon, the tranquil sounds of nature, were replaced by an ominous silence, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. "Do you feel it, Battlecat?" He-Man asked, his voice steady but his expression grim. "The air is heavy with something unnatural." Before Battlecat could respond, a deafening roar shattered the silence, sending a shockwave through the trees. Birds fled the canopy, and smaller creatures scurried for cover. He-Man instinctively raised the sword of power, its golden glow cutting through the encroaching darkness. "By the power of Grayskull," he muttered, mounting Battlecat. "Let's find out what's causing this chaos." The source of the disturbance revealed itself near the ruins of Snake Mountain. Skeletor's last reckless experiment, an attempt to harness forbidden cosmic energy, had gone horribly wrong, tearing a hole in the dimensional fabric. From this rift emerged Mangog, his colossal form silhouetted against the blood-red sky. Mangog's monstrous figure was a horrifying sight to behold, towering over Eternia's tallest peaks. His body radiated raw, destructive energy. His skin was a chaotic blend of fiery red and black, his face twisted into a permanent snarl. His eyes glowed like molten lava, burning with the hatred of countless souls. "I am Mangog," he roared, his voice shaking the heavens. "Born of vengeance, fueled by the despair of 1,000,000,000 worlds. Eternia shall burn, and its defenders shall fall beneath my wrath." The earth quaked with every step he took, fissures opening in the ground as rivers boiled and forests ignited. Villages crumbled under the weight of his presence, and the cries of terrified citizens echoed across the land. He-Man arrived on the scene, his heart sinking at the sight of the devastation. Survivors fled in all directions, their faces pale with terror. A young child stumbled, her cries piercing through the chaos. He-Man dismounted Battlecat, rushing to lift the child to safety. "You're safe now," he assured her, his voice calm despite the growing storm. "Find cover and stay hidden." As He-Man turned his gaze toward Mangog, the beast's eyes locked onto him. A cruel smile spread across Mangog's face. "You must be Eternia's so-called champion," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Tell me, mortal, do you believe your strength can stand against the collective hatred of an entire galaxy?" He-Man raised the sword of power high, its glow intensifying as he drew upon its strength. "I am He-Man, protector of Eternia," he declared, his voice unwavering. "Your hatred will find no foothold here, Mangog. This world will not fall to your wrath." Mangog laughed, a sound like grinding boulders. "Bold words, let us see if they are backed by action." With a thunderous roar, Mangog charged, the ground shattering beneath his immense weight. He-Man stood firm, the sword of power gleaming. As he prepared for the onslaught, Battlecat roared alongside him, ready to fight by his master's side. The two forces collided in a blinding explosion of energy. He-Man's sword clashed against Mangog's monstrous fists, the impact sending shockwaves that rippled across the land. The sheer power of their clash caused mountains to tremble and rivers to burst their banks. Though He-Man's strength was unmatched among mortals, Mangog was no ordinary foe. The hatred that fueled him made him nearly unstoppable, and with each blow, He-Man felt the full weight of that rage. But He-Man refused to yield, his resolve unshaken. "You may have the strength of hatred," He-Man shouted as he parried a devastating strike, "but I fight for something far greater. Hope, unity, and the lives of those who cannot defend themselves." The battle raged on, each combatant pushing themselves to their limits. The land bore the scars of their conflict, but the outcome remained uncertain. The battlefield was a broken expanse of scorched earth and shattered stone, the air thick with the acrid scent of destruction. He-Man and Mangog stood at the center of it all, titans poised for the ultimate clash. Around them, the remnants of Eternia bore witness to a struggle that could determine the fate of the realm. Mangog's molten eyes narrowed as he sneered at the champion of Eternia. "Do you feel it, He-Man? The despair of your people, the hopelessness that feeds me, it grows stronger with every passing moment. Soon, you too will crumble beneath it." He-Man gripped the sword of power tightly, its golden light blazing in defiance of the darkness. "Your hatred has no place here, Mangog. The strength of Grayskull will not falter, and neither will I." With a bellow that shook the heavens, Mangog charged. His colossal form tore through the ground like a living storm, his fists crashing down with the force of an erupting volcano. He-Man leapt aside just in time, the impact creating a massive crater that swallowed everything in its vicinity. He-Man retaliated with a precise slash of the sword of power, the blade slicing through the air and colliding with Mangog's arm. The strike unleashed a burst of energy that momentarily staggered the cosmic beast. "You dare strike me?" Mangog roared, his voice a cacophony of rage. "Your blade is a mere spark against the inferno of my wrath." He swung his massive fist, the force behind it enough to uproot trees and shatter boulders. He-Man raised his sword, deflecting the blow, but the impact sent him skidding across the ground. Before he could recover, Mangog unleashed a blast of raw energy from his maw, a torrent of destructive power that carved a path of annihilation toward the champion. Drawing on every ounce of his strength, He-Man raised his sword and channeled the power of Grayskull into a radiant shield. The energy blast slammed into the shield, pushing He-Man back as his boots dug into the earth. He gritted his teeth, refusing to give an inch. Battlecat, undeterred by his earlier injuries, lunged at Mangog from the side, his claws raking against the beast's torso. Though the attack failed to pierce Mangog's hide, it distracted him long enough for He-Man to regroup. "You fight. Well, creature," Mangog growled, swatting Battlecat away, "but your defiance only prolongs the inevitable." He-Man saw his opportunity and charged, the sword of power blazing like a star. He leapt into the air, delivering a powerful strike aimed directly at Mangog's chest. The sword connected, and for the first time, Mangog let out a roar of genuine pain. "Impossible!" Mangog bellowed, clutching at the wound. "No mortal can harm me!" "You're wrong," He-Man said, his voice resolute. "I'm not just a mortal. I carry the hopes of everyone in Eternia. That's a power you'll never understand." Mangog, fueled by rage, struck back with a devastating uppercut, sending He-Man flying into a jagged rock formation. The champion groaned as he pulled himself to his feet, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Despite the pain, his resolve remained unshaken. "This ends now," He-Man declared, raising the sword of power high. "By the power of Grayskull, I call upon the light to banish this darkness." The sword erupted with a brilliance that outshone the sun, its energy forming a massive beam that pierced the heavens. The ground beneath Mangog trembled as the light enveloped him, tearing at the essence of hatred that sustained him. Mangog screamed, a sound of pure agony that echoed across Eternia. His massive form began to crack and splinter, golden light pouring through the fractures. "No!" he roared, his voice laced with desperation. "I am Mangog. I cannot be defeated." But the light of Grayskull was relentless, overwhelming the cosmic beast. With one final earth-shaking roar, Mangog exploded into a blinding burst of energy. When the light faded, only a smoking crater remained where he once stood. He-Man lowered his sword, breathing heavily. Around him, the skies began to clear, the twin moons returning to their serene silver glow. The oppressive darkness that had loomed over Eternia was gone, replaced by the soft light of dawn. Teela and the sorceress arrived, their faces a mixture of relief and awe. "You did it, He-Man," the sorceress said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Eternia is safe once more." He-Man looked out at the horizon, his expression solemn. "Mangog is gone, but the cost was great. The land will need time to heal, and so will its people. But as long as Grayskull stands, we will always have the strength to protect Eternia." As the people of Eternia emerged from their hiding places, cheering for their champion, He-Man silently vowed to remain ever vigilant. For though the battle was over, he knew that the fight for Eternia's future would never truly end.